I'm going to try something a little different this time. This is a question for other atheists. Before I get to the question, let us speak existentially. What exactly is religion? A few years ago, I was taking a philosophy class at a local community college. One of the books for the class was called Philosophy of Religion by John H. Hick. Here's what this book has to say on the subject. What, however, is religion? Many different definitions have been proposed. Some of these are phenomenological, trying to state that which is common to all the acknowledged forms of religion. For example, religion is human recognition of a superhuman controlling power, and especially of a personal god or gods entitled to obedience and worship. Others are interpretative. Thus, there are psychological definitions, for example, the feelings, act, and experiences of individual men in their solitude, so far as they apprehend themselves to stand in relation to whatever they may consider the divine. Others are sociological, for example, a set of beliefs, practices, and institutions which men have evolved in various societies. Others, again, are naturalistic, for example, a body of scruples which impede the free exercise of our faculties. Or more sympathetically, ethics heightened and kindled, lit up by feeling. Yet others are religious definitions of religion. For example, religion is the recognition that all things are manifestations of a power which transcends our knowledge, or again, humanity's response to the divine. But such definitions are all stipulative. They decide how the term is to be used, and impose this in the form of a definition. Perhaps a more realistic view is that the word religion does not have a single correct meaning, but that the many different phenomena subsumed under it are related in the way that the philosopher Ludwig Wittgenstein has characterized a family resemblance. His own example was the word game. You cannot define a game as being played for pleasure, for some are played for profit, or as being competitive, for some are solo performances, or as requiring skill, for some depend on chance, or indeed it would seem by any single feature. Yet all these different kinds of game overlap in character with some other kinds, which in turn overlap in different ways, and yet other kinds, so that the whole ramifying collection hangs together in a complex network of similarities and differences, which Wittgenstein likened to the resemblances and differences appearing within a family. We may apply Wittgenstein's idea to the word religion. Perhaps there is no single characteristic of everything that can be called a religion, but rather a set of family resemblances. In much religion, there is the worship of a god or gods, but in Theravada Buddhism, for example, there is not. Again, religion often makes for social cohesion, yet in some strands it is aptly characterized as what man does with his solitariness. Again, religion often makes for the inner harmony of the individual, yet some of the greatest religious innovators seem to their contemporaries to be unbalanced and even insane. The family resemblances model allows for such differences. It also allows us to acknowledge the similarities as well as the differences between more standard examples of religion and such secular faiths as Marxism. Marxism has its eschatological ideal of the ultimate classless society, its doctrine of predestination through historical necessity, its scriptures, prophets, saints, and martyrs. Thus we can see it as sharing some of the features of the family of religion while lacking other and probably more central ones. But whether a movement is religious is not an all-or-nothing matter, but a question of degree within a widely spreading network of resemblances and differences. I see it a little differently than does John Hick. In the establishment of a definition for a word, the main objective is effectiveness. A word is meant to be a tool of communication. Therefore, the definition must facilitate its use to that end. A definition must be such as to render a word usable for clear understanding in communication. To that end, its definition must be neither too broad nor too narrow, neither too inclusive nor too exclusive. Science, for example, must be defined in such a way as to include astronomy, neurology, and chemistry, but to exclude astrology, phrenology, and alchemy. To further illustrate the point, I once read about this girl who was visiting her boyfriend, and the two of them decided to sit in the living room and watch a movie. Partway into the movie, she got up to get something from the kitchen and called back to him about where to find something. He yelled to her that it was in the junk drawer. A moment later, she yelled back again and to ask him to be more specific. In this case, the word junk drawer was too broad, too inclusive, to be of any help. The definition upon which I rely for religion is a belief or system of beliefs which entails both the assumption of the existence of mystical forces and their causal connection with ceremony. When I refer to religion, this is what I'm talking about. This definition includes Theravada Buddhism and witchcraft. It excludes Marxism and Confucianism, but personally I have no objection to that. Consider a questionnaire with only 2 questions. Are you religious? Are you theistic? The vast majority of people in the world will answer the same way to both, but not everyone. The Theravada Buddhist will answer yes only to the first, but if relying on my definition, the deist will answer yes only to the second. This is the way I see it. So far I've only discussed it with 2 atheists, and they both disagreed with me, though it seemed their whole basis for the disagreement was the insistence that my definitions of theism and religion, as 2 compatible but fundamentally different concepts, were mistaken. Of course, I've never been one to find simple insistence especially convincing. So I'm asking, is there some sort of problem with defining theism as simply God belief in some way, shape, or form, thereby excluding Theravada Buddhism, but including deism? Is there some kind of problem with defining religion as a belief or system of beliefs which entails the assumption of both the existence of mystical forces and their causal connection to ceremony, thus including Theravada Buddhism but excluding deism? Is there anything inaccurate about saying that Christianity and Theravada Buddhism are both religious while Christianity and deism are both theistic?